So, Christian, you're fired. You still can't get the timing on this right.
Yeah, 3 strikes, you're out. Like that.
3 strikes, you're out.
And I said
I'll do it next time. Also, you can you can click the thing again to stop it, so we don't have to live with that 10-second pause at the end of the something like that.
Yeah,
anyway,
it's all awkward. One day I'll get it right.
One day, not today was not that day.
Not that day.
We can actually practice this. Maybe we should do that.
We should do that training, right? Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Okay. Good afternoon, GitOpsians. Welcome to, I don't even remember, episode 54 of GitOps Guide to the Galaxy. I'll let Christian introduce our guests today. Some folks, I hope, are joining us from a conference. Maybe we got new viewers. So last week I was at a conference that was actually here in my hometown of Oakland, California, called Developer Week. And we were there. We were handing out stickers and t-shirts and beer and hamburgers and stuff. And that was a really, really great conference, sponsored by the developers.redhat.com group. Where our guest is joining us from. So on that exact note, other things sponsored by the Red Hat or the developers.redhat.com includes a lot of books and media and resources that we provide to people in that community. And with that, I'm going to pass it off to Christian, who will introduce Natale, because they actually already knew each other, and Natale and I just met today.
Yeah. So it's and also one more thing about that the developers team here at Red Hat. They're the ones that helped me publish my book. So very big kudos to that team. Fantastic team, by the way. I've worked with them. So Natale here, I think he's on this side of me, is also wrote a book, right? Wrote a book called GitOps Cookbook. Natale and I actually go back, right there. Natale and I actually go back quite a ways, right? We're both essays when Kubernetes was this weird new thing, right? And we were supposedly experts on it, so we used to fly all over the place, right? I think we finally met in person in Amsterdam. Was it Amsterdam? No, Vienna. In Vienna, and then basically just kept working together as we moved to different business units and different roles at Red Hat. So, Natale, thank you so much for being here. I know it's late over there. Natale is you are in Italy, but I think I want to get this right. You are in Nice or
Milano.
Milano. Okay.
Milano. Yeah. Okay. It's aperitif time over here, so I'm here with my
exactly.
My wife
yeah, exactly. And I have and me and Hillary are drinking coffee just because it's noon. I
like your fedora cup, and I like your cap. Yeah, nice.
His fedora cup is very nice. I'm a little jealous. My coffee is empty, which is a tragedy.
Last drop.
Last drops. That's where we're at. We're looking for any remaining caffeinated dredges here.
Remnants, yeah. So
the remnants. No, it's
So buonasera, Natale. Thank you.
Buonasera.
Buonasera. What's really cool about Natale's book, and he's going to talk about it, and more in depth, is that we actually were writing our respective books at the same time, and then it's it's actually kind of cool because you get the path to GitOps, and once you're done with that, you can actually just start reading GitOps Cookbook with mine was kind of more overview, kind of preparing your mindset for the practices, and the cookbook is literally what it is, right? Cookbook. All right, these are what the recipes, that relate to some of these practices. So, welcome, Natale, and tell us a little bit about your book and the background and who your co-author was, all the juicy details.
Yeah. First, I'm very happy to be in the coolest show for DevOps.
Nice.
Right now, I think this is the coolest show. I'm really happy to be here. I know it's late for me, but I couldn't miss that, Christian, Hillary. It's a fantastic show. And hi, everyone. I see some friends in the chat. There's also Evan. I think you met Hillary at the conference of Developer Week. And Evan did a great GitOps demo. You have to see that. Maybe you have to invite also Evan to this. It's a great game. It's a game where you play with car and you have to tap with your phone to move those car. And then you update the app with using GitOps like this. And then it's going to shake your phone. It's really, really cool, really interactive. But really happy to be here. And Hilary, I want to tell you this story about how I met Christian. So I know Christian, we were at SSA together, specialist solution architect for OpenShift. But then, you know what we did? At that time, there wasn't any site reliability engineer. There were people that in the data center installing. And me and Christian were installing OpenShift 3 in a data center in Australia. So we had to do a time zone shift.
Yeah, follow the sun. We did follow the sun, literally, like handing off. Right?
Sun. Yeah. But it was from RHEL, really from RHEL and IP, Pixie Boot to OpenShift and so on. So that's how I met Christian. And when I saw Christian in Vienna, I said, thank you for that one.
Well, I hope that data center has since updated to OpenShift 4.
I hope so. I don't know.
I hope so, yeah. I think it's EOL. Well, OpenShift 3 is EOL. I think it's just on this last kind of maintenance tail. I think in a couple of months, it's like no more support. It's been
it's been EOL, right? It has been anybody still using OpenShift 3, stop. Upgrade. That was recently one of my pastimes. So they moved me. I talk about this sometimes, right? My new role is what they call leadership, which means I'm very rarely hands-on with anything anymore. It's like design, specify, and then pass off to others for implementation. And so I can still be found answering questions in the OpenShift subreddit, and I'll give you. I'll give you brownie points if you figure out which one is me. And I don't even think Christian knows my Reddit username, not my real one. I have one for work, but I have a personal one too.
I know the Twitter one. So if it's the same, if it's similar to the
not.
Twitter, okay, then I do not know.
It's not. So credit if you guess which Reddit user answering questions in the OpenShift subreddit is me. And there was a thread recently where somebody was talking about that they inherited some sort of OpenShift deployment and they didn't know how to access it, or how to get into it, and it wasn't documented or anything. And a lot of the responses were, it's probably OpenShift 3, nuke it and install 4.12. So if you're still, for whatever reason, on OpenShift 3, please don't. You're not going to have a fun time. There's not going to continue to be support. OpenShift
for
4,
the sake of security too, right? Because that's 1.11, I think. You have access to all of the resources through various Red Hat channels. Please contact somebody. We will help you. I think Mock Mike here? Yeah. OCP3 is done. Reach out if you need assistance getting off of it. Yes, all of that. Anybody would be happy to help. So I have to make at least one really bad joke about eating GitOps for lunch. So, oh God, OKD4. No, don't. I mean, OKD is great. Yes. Anyway, so Natale, let's get back to your book. Let's eat some GitOps for lunch. Tell us what we need to know about your cookbook.
Right on. Hey, Hilary, I want to say, first, there are people in a time zone that this show is fantastic. I say people from Moscow, Pakistan. Wow. So their time zone is more later than me. So kudos to you all. And now I want to come back to what Christian says. So I think this book, the GitOps Cookbook, it's really nicely connected to other books that we have on developer.com, like the one that Christian wrote. And I say that because, for instance, Christian's book, you can find the link from this page. You can find all the books available. The Getting GitOps is really kind of has the narrative of why GitOps, what are the best practices, how you should structure your directory, how should you structure your repos. So it's a kind of design pattern for GitOps and kind of introduction. for architecture introduction. And then I think the GitOps Cookbook go straight to the code. Okay, I know the theory, I know how I have to do that, but now show me the code again, like a Linux server. Right? Show me the code. Show me how I can do that.
Yes.
But I want to tell you also this. The GitOps Cookbook it's created with a climax. I don't know if people like it or not. So we wrote the book with this in mind. You start with the fundamental, which is Git. Then you move to containers. So we go through the chapter where you learn how to use Podman, Build-up, Podman in Podman, Canico, Build-packs. So all those cool technology to create container, right? So we're assuming container is the fundamental unit before you arrive to, Argo CD or any GitOps implementation. Let's start from the foundation, containers, Git, right? And then we move it in the other chapter with other important tools for mostly used in GitOps workload, which are Customize and Helm. Again, those live alone. So you can use Customize without GitOps. You can use Helm without GitOps. GitOps is just a methodology, right? It's an approach. But we want to create this climax, Customize, Helm. And then you arrive in our, let's say, Red Hat opinionated CI/CD. Red Hat opinionated CI/CD is a cloud native CI/CD. In this case, it's Tecton. So you have a CI part, which is implemented by Tecton in this case. So chapter 6 goes into a list of receipts about Tecton. So how you can create your example for Java pipeline, how you do your unitary test, how you insert, customize, and help inside Tecton, how you use Tecton app for creating multiple Tecton tasks. So we arrive at chapter 7 finally to a GitOps tool. So in this case, again, is a Red Hat opinionated way. So it's Tecton plus Argo CD. You know that GitOps is an approach. So an open source implementation could be Argo CD, could be Flux, could be anything, right? We're focusing on Argo CD. So chapter 7 and chapter 8 are the chapter for Argo CD. And while chapter 7, it's an introductory to Argo CD, how you deploy an application, how you use Customize, how you use Helm, right on. Chapter 8 goes a little bit in advanced technique. And I want to say that, Hilary, in chapter 8, mention explicitly Christian book, mentioned Christian Hernandez, like he's a famous. Christian Hernandez say that. You can see, yeah, please download the book and you see I mentioned Christian in the first part of the book because it's really, again, it's nicely connected to the Getting GitOps book. And with the book here, you can start implementing your receipt, right, on that. So chapter 8 is advanced. So when you call advanced, I'm talking about application sets, or we're talking about secret, very hot topic, right?
Yes.
How do you manage secret? I follow the show here at the GitOps Guide to the Galaxy. We have many options. In the book, we go through sealed secret and external secret. And we think external secret is the best way to handle it because it's an agnostic API, right? That touch many identity, many secret management store. And yes, I think chapter 7 and chapter 8 are really the chapter that for Argo CD receipt, right? Advanced CD. But before going to that, we have outlined this path, really from the begin to the most advanced technique.
Yeah, what I really liked, and Arslan, hopefully I'm pronouncing your name right. We'll get to your comment in a second. But what I really liked about the approach of the book is that you started at code and containers, right? And so a lot of the times, me coming from an admin background, Hillary being an SRE, like we think about like the application as it's running and taking care of it, at runtime, right? Keeping the lights on, making sure, if you're working at a company, making sure you're making money.
You just like completely blew past 11 years of quality engineering and software delivery in my career.
Yeah.
Like, what the heck, dude?
but it starts. My point being is that it starts at the application, right? It starts like GitOps kind of at least from inception. It obviously it's evolving, but at inception, it's all about like Kubernetes taking advantage of Kubernetes, right? And taking advantage of those reconciliation loops. But yes, you had the 10 years of quality. It doesn't even make it to the running state without going through you first. So like, yes,
right,
you're
right.
absolutely right. But yes, I like how you start off as like, it begins with Git and Podman, right? Or, Git Docker, or whatever you may be using, because that's honestly, like if you want to say where does GitOps start, it starts kind of like right there, right? It starts at the developer building a container. So we got a comment by Arslan. So hopefully, he says, we appreciate we can have more information using Jenkins and Argo CD the GitOps way. I believe your book, you mentioned you had a chapter on Tecton and Argo CD. I think that can be translated into Jenkins, right? It's still kind of like the similar idea. You're using Tecton for the build aspect and or Argo CD for the deploy aspect. Can you maybe go a little bit deeper on that chapter?
You're right, Christian. It's talk about cloud native CI/CD. So we're not talking about Jenkins. Not Jenkins. We could mention Jenkins X, but Jenkins X is Tecton at the end, right?
Yeah, it is. I was going to say Jenkins X, Red Hat had contributors to help create that project, and Jenkins X is actually it's just Tecton under the hood.
It's just Tecton under the hood. So we're talking about cloud native CI/CD because this book, if you hey, I have the hard copy, by the way, here. Looks nice. And if you read this subtitle here, there's written Kubernetes automation in practice. So it's really focused on Kubernetes, right? Whereas Jenkins is agnostic, can run in virtual machine. Actually, Jenkins is architectured for virtual machine, right? It came from the traditional world, while Tecton is really designed for containers and Kubernetes. That's why we put the focus. But to Arsalan point, the structure is still valid if you use Jenkins for the CI part. So you build your container, your golden image, right? And then you let Jenkins do some operation like using I don't know, in the book you use a Tecton task to use customize to update the Kubernetes manifest stored on Git to to reflect the new change in the app. Maybe you can use the same approach in Jenkins.
Yeah. Christian is telling me my sound's a little distorted. Well, that is unfortunate. It was great earlier today, so I don't know what happened. Oh well, I can't troubleshoot
Fedora,
that.
Right?
Yeah, blame Fedora. You know what? My cat was actually literally over here playing with the cords and cables on my desk earlier, so I'm gonna blame the cat. Oh well, sorry folks. That's a bummer. You can do Git commits with Jenkins. I've done that a lot. So if you can do a commit to a Git repo, which you can with Jenkins, then you can get Argo CD to pick up those changes and do the CD pieces or anything else that's watching the Git repo to do whatever action is required. So put the thing in the registry. If you're using a local registry, yes, you can get Jenkins to do that. It's just bash scripts that you orchestrate really at the end of the day.
Yeah, it is. It's I think Gerald's on. Gerald said Bash is the new language of GitOps, which is kind of funny. Because
it's always been the language of GitOps. I'm sorry, what? New?
It's the because just it's just you're dropping to a shell. It's like, okay, I'll just drop into a shell. I can do whatever I want at that point.
Yep.
Yeah. So what's not to plug my book because it's about Natale's book, but I kind of talk about, and I kind of borrowed this from conversations I had with Gerald about like trying to marry asynchronous tasks with synchronous tasks, right? So like the traditional like Jenkins, CI/CD, even with Tecton, right, is very very synchronous, right? Like it's very like one thing waits for another. You can do DAG, right? So you can do the dependencies on one another. Right. Whereas GitOps is kind of like it's asynchronous, right? Like you just kind of like, what did Gerald say in one of his blogs? Is fire and forget, right? It's like you kind of like you do a commit and like you don't really get any information back from Argo CD or any really get up. It's like it just when the reconciliation loop happens, it just happens. So kind of like to your point, Hillary, you're saying that like you gotta have just Jenkins just do a commit, instead of doing the actual deploy, do a commit to a Git repo, and then kind of Argo CD takes it over. I mean, I guess you can write like a Tecton task or Jenkins job or whatever to kind of monitor, like, actually do curls, right? Again, you're dropping to the bash.
No, don't do that. You can. I mean, you can. And tell me if my audio is better because I fessed with the dials. But you can. But
it's
don't.
Worse. I'm not sure.
Oh.
Yeah, but you can, but you don't. Yeah.
Don't do that. Like you can, like don't. If you need to have better insights or whatever, observability is your friend, right? There are so many things that you can get. You don't just have to get like alerts and problems out of your observability. I keep trying to explain this to people. Observability isn't just what you need to care about if things are bad. It's what you need to care about. It's like it should be a snapshot of your state, right?
Yes.
Your observability should be a snapshot of your state at that time, your application state, your deployment states, whatever. Use some observability solution for those things. And it also gets us down to things like DORA metrics, which I think we're actually going to do a show on later the quarter in the summer. DORA metrics is something I'm living and breathing right now. So and there are tools for those. And anyway, so the point is there are tools for these things and ecosystems around them and ways to get that information. If you have to do a curl because you need some sort of awareness into your CI pipeline, fine, do it. Yeah. There's always a reason to do the thing that I'm like, no, don't do. There's always a good case for some things.
There's always a caveat, right? Yeah.
There's always a caveat. Don't do that except for when. But no, those are the times where you're looking at implementing observability solutions, implementing solutions that give you DORA, DevOps metrics. Those are the things that you're going to want.
Yeah, it's kind of like that's why Grafana and Prometheus exist, right? Like, that's or whatever other metrics provider observability. It's yeah, no, we've built the monolith before. That's why we're trying to get away from Jenkins, right? Like,
yeah,
we built this like whole thing. So
yeah, and I talked about this. I talked about this when we did our talk at GitOps Con last year in Valencia, right? The thing about modern architectures is they're more observable.
Yes. Yeah, there's I think almost too much data.
Yeah, now you have to put in filtering. Now you have to start filtering your data so that you're only getting the most useful. That's always been true, though. It's just actually easier to understand how much data we have, but that's always been true.
Yeah, true.
Arslan also has a question about Tecton. How can we integrate signed GPG Git commits via Tecton? That's something that they've been struggling with. I actually don't know. I haven't used Tecton a whole much.
Well, with pipeline as a code, I think you can sign just a commit on your source control manager like GitHub. And so each thing is signed, connected to a Tecton action.
Yeah. So you mentioned, do you talk about pipeline as code in your book?
No, unfortunately, that wasn't really ready at that time. It was a kind of a bleeding edge tech. So I couldn't provide anything nicely working. But yeah, I think Tecton pipeline as a code is really cool technology. And for people familiar, with GitHub and GitHub action or function like, /test, /ci, /retest is the same thing. You can use the same structure and each application repository has its own pipeline in a subfolder called that Tecton where you store this pipeline. So I think it's really good way to define pipelines per microservice or per app, but also it not force, recommend you to go into a Git workflow. Like you do a change is on your branch and then you do a pull request rather than committing straight to main or master. And when the pull request is open, Tecton pipeline as a code will create a task will create the pipeline, so you can test that everything is fine. And only when everything is fine, you can merge to the main branch. So I think it's a very cool practice. Unfortunately, I couldn't add in the book in time. Technology is super fast. I mean, I need to write the version 2 now.
Yeah, exactly. Well, actually, me and Gerald were kind of chatting about this a little bit. It's like you get halfway through a book and you're like, well, like half the stuff, I mentioned I have to go back and modify it. Like you're literally modifying it as it's almost going to publish, because just like technology goes, one of the things, well, a couple of things, it's kind of interesting. People always ask me about, well, can Argo CD do this? Can Argo CD do? And I'm like, well, that's really a CI task. And then really, like, Tekton has a lot of these features kind of like built in, like pipeline as code. There's also Tekton chains, right, for like security supply chain, for signing your either containers or your packages that you're building, signing your deployments, verify with Sigstore, that sort of thing. So that's something that's really, really cool about Tekton, right? Like it's because it's like, we focus on GitOps, but it's like, that's, DevOps is so much more, and there's so much more that comes before like the actual GitOps aspect of it. That some technologies that's really cool.
I like the point from Arsalan. Like when Tekton pushed the YAML to Git, so maybe some task that we customize, change the manifest, the commit should be verified. But isn't like when you configure your user and you configure your user being as having the signature for your user, isn't automatically attached to that commit if you are using the personal access token? I'm supposing GitHub here, but it could be generic. When you have your Git user configured with signature, right?
Yeah. So, and I really wish we had somebody in the comments from our secure supply chain team at Red Hat, because they would know this so much better than I do. Because I'm so far onto the ops side now. But the answer to that is basically yes. But I think that what we're talking about is anything, an automated process, authenticating with a signature. And they're probably talking about 2 jumps back, right? So the process might be signed, but what initiated the process, and was that also signed? I'm inferring, I could be completely wrong, and tell me, but I think that's the issue. And so that's one of the things where I think Tal has the answer here.
Right on. If you load the GPG key in your user and then add the git config with the GPG to the task, but the Tekton task will read the secret that you attach to a service account running the pipeline. So you really mount that git config into a Kubernetes secret, and then you attach the secret to the service account running the pipeline.
Yeah, as I say, the passphrase should exist depending on exactly how you're doing this. It might exist as an environment variable that gets referenced, instead of somebody having to manually put it in every time. So,
which is why cosign is actually pretty cool, right? Because it does that verification, like you just say, verify this for me, versus trying to verify the signature yourself, right? Because you've already uploaded those keys, right, to Sigstore. So. But to Hillary, to your point, yeah, if you just want to do it with GPG, you can just load the passphrase. Or I've ran GPG keys without a passphrase, right? For things like this.
That's terrible.
Again, you don't want to do that, but
no, don't do that. It's at this point we're like coming up with ways to hack around this problem, and I'm not we're not hands on keyboard before we're doing this. This is like armchair coding automation here. So at runtime on the CLI for the passphrase, you should still be able to automate that and have a script that responds to the prompt to the passphrase with an environment variable. That's probably one of the best ways to do that. There's probably better ways. Honestly, there's probably better ways. Somebody's got to know this better than I do. But that's probably what I would do in the situation where what you're talking about, but I'm also still thinking about Jenkins, and we were talking also about Tekton, so it should still work roughly the same. But yeah.
Tekton chains, I believe, can automate it for you.
I think so. Yes. And it's either a Kubernetes secret or some sort of other environment variable that can get loaded and utilized during runtime.
Cool. Then Chains is tech preview, right? And right now in for Red Hat OpenShift, so it's gonna be available soon as GA. Nice.
I posted the link down there, so in the chat. So can you memorize that link? So this is why you tune in live, so that way you can just copy and paste the links.
I'm like getting ready to copy paste that link. I'm trying to get it to let me click the thing instead of just display the thing. It was not happening for me. But yeah, I'll make. That's why I showed it, that it was going to display it. But yeah, I'll make Christian Slack me that later, or I'll rewatch the stream and pull it out of the restream comments.
Yeah, and pause it, and yeah, exactly. Oh, the restream comments. Yeah.
So cool. Using an environment variable or something. Yeah. Let us know, please, what you do there. I'm very interested. Like, hit us up on Twitter or on like the Kubernetes Slack or the CNCF Slack or something. Tell us what worked. Tell us what we didn't know. Tell me that I was wrong. I love when I'm wrong, because it means I had an opportunity to learn a new thing. But yeah. And if anybody knows better than my armchair guessing here, as to the best pattern, also tell me when I was wrong. I will happily. I can't know all the things. I really can't know all the things anymore.
No, yeah, not anymore. No.
There's too many things.
When tech was easy.
Yeah, when tech was easy. When tech was as easy as just racking a server.
FTP.
Yeah, FTP your code.
Okay, I have. In our talk, right? In our talk, I asked who has deployed code to production with FTP, right? And like I put up my hand, and like 3 other hands went up, and I was like, okay. So people are like, SFTP, sure, but FTP, no. And I'm like, man, I worked at some interesting startups, y'all. So
right on.
Then later I asked the audience, it's like, okay, so who here has daisy chained Jenkins jobs together? Like, you have a Jenkins job and it triggers another one, which triggers another one, which does and you eventually get all through the things, right? And the same. And the same hands went up.
Yeah,
I think the same, like 3 hands went up. I looked at the audience and I was like, some of you all are making me feel very old, and you can actually leave. That's fine. They don't know how good they've had it.
Yeah, exactly. Back in my day, this was harder.
Yeah. You're welcome.
Yeah, for sure. So I'm going to actually found the link. So the book we're talking, again, Natale here is talking about his GitOps Cookbook. I am pasting the link to the book.
Cool. So while you do that, I was going to ask, Natale, in your opinion, what's the don't miss thing about your book?
It depends. The smartest answer is it depends, because if you want to start really from scratch, I think you have to read all the book. It's a must. But if you are, I think this chat is really advanced. Maybe you can jump straight to the Tekton and Argo CD chapters. So chapter 6, 7, 8. Those are the more juicy for those advanced people. Let's say you can find useful receipt for most common use cases, right? So I recommend 6, 7, 8 for advanced folks, people that would like to get more about, also new cool tech about creating container or Helm customize. You can go to chapter 3, 4, 5. Again, it's not, for containers, is all the OCI toolkit. It's Jib for Java. It's there's Canico, there's BuildPack, there's a Shipwright as well. There are many technology to build containers that maybe you are not aware of. So it could be a good rehearsal or technique of building container image.
Cool. Very good.
So the second half of your book saying, like, if you've already kind of familiar with like if you already have done CI/CD and if you're kind of familiar with cloud native tools, like all right, cool, like you can just maybe focus on the second half, kind of like the more advanced topics there.
Yes, definitely. And my co-author, and I would like to mention Alex Soto Bueno, which is a developer advocate here in Red Hat. We were thinking this was kind of a starting point for people that would like to, really get started with GitOps methodology, GitOps approach. After you know the theory, you can start doing something. But I think the advanced cases, really advanced cases, deserve a separate or a second edition or a separate book, because I think this is a kind of a introduction with most common useful recipe for Argo CD and Tecton, to your point, Christian. So yeah, go straight to the second half. If you are expert, you will find things like sync waves, hooks, or secret management. I'm reading the book again because I can't recall everything. Application set, those piece of code, copy and paste. You can. By the way, the book is meant for a Minikube. We tested the book for Minikube, and I want to tell this, Hilary and Christian, when you write a book with code, you have to fix the version, right? And you say, okay, I'm installing Argo CD version X, Argo CD rollout version Y, and you have to fix the infrastructure, let's say. So we're targeting a certain version of Minikube, a certain version of Argo CD, a certain version of Tecton. But in this way, this is universal and stay, reproducible. Let's say in 1 year, you have the book. If somebody gives you books at the conference, you have the book, right? In 1 year or 2 years, it's still working because the version is fixed and the platform is agnostic. The book is tailored for Minikube, so any Kubernetes will work. Any Kubernetes where you have sufficient permission to install, Argo CD and Tecton. You need to have this kind of cluster admin or a sufficient permission. Other than that, the book is really tailored for all Kubernetes.
That's awesome.
Yeah. Yeah,
and
also kind of like when you're like building these containers, like if you build them from OpenShift, they'll run on Kubernetes just fine. So it's kind of cool to be able to like test on Minikube and then deploy it to OpenShift. And you're like, oh, hey, like it works similar. So
it's going to work similar. It's not necessarily going to work though, okay? Because I've done this
the other way around.
When I'm tired, right? You can go from OpenShift to Kubernetes. You cannot go from Minikube to OpenShift necessarily, because if the container image you're using hasn't removed the root user, it will not run. Then it goes back to OpenShift's built-in security context and the things that we enforce to guarantee that security first is really part and parcel with how OpenShift behaves. So just remember that, because I have completely grabbed the wrong Postgres image because I was, what was it? It was like, when am I ever building demos? I'm building demos at 10 o'clock at night, right? And I'm a tired person. My day starts at 7 in the morning. Like 10 o'clock at night, I'm ready to be asleep. So I've done this, and I sat there and scratched my head and went, why does this not work? Everything's perfect. There's no linting issues with my YAML. This should be fine. Let's go check the logs. And I go and check the logs, and it's like, oh, I'm an idiot. There's a root user in this image. Let me go get the one from Red Hat, right? So, and then everything was perfect. So don't forget that. It will work. OpenShift, all of its built-in security context stuff, portable back to vanilla Kubernetes of some kind. The other way, no guarantees.
I usually say it like when someone says, hey, it works on Kubernetes, but not on OpenShift. I go, no, that's not the problem. The problem is you built the container wrong.
Right.
And then I wait for them to prove me wrong, and they go back and they go, oh, actually, you're right. Like if I just, make this a little bit more secure, it runs just fine.
Yep. Most important feature in OpenShift by far, built-in security context. I'll wait for somebody to prove me wrong. I know people love the GUI. The GUI is nice, but I'll wait for somebody to prove me wrong. Yeah. So, Natale, we've got a little bit more than 15 minutes left. I'm going to ask you the most important question I could ever ask you. What book should I write?
Well, that's a good question. And I'm sure there are plenty of the site reliability engineering books. maybe there aren't many book. What I think what a book really should tell is a good story, and this good story comes from the experience. All the things you are saying today, right? Oh, I had this issue. Oh, I have done this. If you share this in the book, it's going to be really valuable. I don't know how you put the title of this book, but sharing experiences from, you find a title, but sharing your experiences on what you did, it's really nice. It's really good.
I have a great title for a book, but it's not stream appropriate.
We'll tweet about it, I guess. Yeah.
No, I can't even tweet about it. Like,
okay.
It's really not appropriate. So some people know, a lot of people who I think pay attention to the stream, because I mention it time to time. I'm self-taught, right? I have never taken a computer science course in my life. That is an important thing. I graduated high school and I went to work. And now I'm a principal engineer at Red Hat, and that's pretty cool, right? I can't complain about that. One of the things, and it has gotten so much better over the years, but one of the things that was so rough for me in self-teaching was reading documentation and reading examples and the use of foo and bar. And at one point I looked at my husband, I was like, what the is foo and what the is bar? And like, where did this come from? Like, can we please anchor our code examples to like real world use cases, things that tell stories, things that help me understand what these pieces are supposed to mean. And that is literally the book I want to write, with that title, without the expletives bleeped out.
Yeah.
About how to write a useful code example for somebody to understand it, because the person you're writing for should be the person that you should expect to have no previous context, not the person who already knows the things you know. So that's the book I always think about writing. And then I'm like, oh man, that's an intimidating book to write. I'm not doing that. I'm not smart enough to write that book.
Yeah.
So somebody please write that book.
Yeah.
I'll buy it.
I'll buy it. Yes, and you'll put it in the back. I think also the way, and I think that's kind of like the way Natale approached the GitOps Cookbook, because like the word of the cookbook, right? Whereas like my book is more like the theory of flavor profiles versus a cookbook, right? I think most people want the cookbook because they like, no, like I want to know like how to do XYZ. Give me the recipe versus like, like it's fine to know what flavors go together, but like I just want to be able to deploy this here. So I think that's one of the cool things about having that kind of format, right? Like just teach me like how to make that thing. So that's kind of cool here. Or something.
I've never seen the username Bacon Fork join our stream chat before, so I think potentially new viewer or one-time viewer, whatever it is. Yes, so many nonsense variables. I hate them all. They're terrible. They're not helpful. Don't do that if you're writing an example or you're writing documentation. Please do not do that. That is awful. But also, Bacon Fork is an amazing username, and I am sad I didn't think of it.
Bacon Fork. So is that a fork you can eat after you're done using it?
I have so many questions and I want all of the answers.
Yes, exactly. Cool. So let's round this off a little bit, talking about KubeCon, right? I believe all three of us will be there.
You're coming.
Are you?
I am. I'm going to be there. I booked yesterday.
Yeah. So Natale, are you going to be there? You're in Italy. It's short drive to Amsterdam.
Yeah. I think I will be there. Yeah, we're gonna be at the booth with Daniel and Kevin. We're gonna
heavy hitters. Nice.
Yeah.
Get Daniel O and Natale. Hillary, myself. You can ask us questions one-on-one.
You can't miss it. And I say
Hillary may duck out though. We don't know.
I didn't sign up for booth duty. I'm coming because I'm a member of the Kubernetes Community Code of Conduct.
Oh, okay. Cool.
And we have a panel discussion. Hey guys, submit there. I posted it on Twitter. And I will post it again. Submit your questions for the Kubernetes Code of Conduct Committee, because we are really wanting to provide that human face to this kind of nebulous entity. So submit your questions. We can't answer specifics on specific issues, but we can talk broadly about how we look at things, what it means to be on the committee, part of the committee, etc. So do that. But that's actually why I'm going to be there and I haven't actually signed up for any sort of booth duty. Yeah, no one has cornered me into it, Jen. So until they make me, I don't actually have any booth shift. But I'll be around. You'll be able to find me. Bonus points if you find me, and I have GitOps Guide to the Galaxy stickers with me because that's the thing I bring to conferences.
I want it, and Christian, we gotta do the OpenShift coffee break KubeCon edition. So we're gonna stream from KubeCon, and we're gonna find Hillary. Whatever, she's not at the booth.
Wherever we'll find her. Yeah,
I don't know, in Amsterdam, outside, whatever. We're gonna stream it.
I'm very probably going to I'm staying the weekend. I don't know if you guys are staying the weekend. I'm staying the weekend, and I do HEMA, Historical European Martial Arts. Which I had a competition this last weekend and I got body slammed and fell to the ground and it really hurt. But anyway, so the person who I take HEMA, which is, it's a sword, guys. It's a big 2-handed sword. It's really fun. The person who I take HEMA from, his instructor he's the 11th ranked HEMA competitor in the world, and he's just outside of Amsterdam. So I emailed him. I'm going to try and go to a class of his over that weekend. So you could find me potentially at the conference. You could find me potentially at a sword fighting class. That's
pretty cool. So I'll actually be at both KubeCon and ArgoCon, and I have a talk for KubeCon, right? How GitOps saved our lives, right? So we're gonna something we're doing with the GitOps community with the Flux guys. Are gonna bring in some like end users, on the Argo CD side. I'm gonna bring in some end users to see talk about GitOps and like how we implemented it. So check it out. I posted the link down there. And you can catch either one of us. I am personally excited for Amsterdam. It's going to be my second time there, but the first time I went there wasn't nearly long enough. I'm a museum geek, so I visited I think 4 or 5 museums when I was there, and I was like, there's so many museums here. Absolutely love it. I also had, Natale, I think I'm going to put you on mute. I think I had some of the best Italian food I think I've had in Amsterdam.
Don't joke.
Yeah. But it was I haven't been to Milan yet, so who knows?
That's why I asked to the KubeCon folks to do KubeCon Europe in Milano. I hope they accept this, this for the next KubeCon Europe. I really hope they select Milano. Let's see. So we can bring you all to the original food, the good one.
You got the Zweihändler. Yeah. So yeah. That's Zwei. It means two-hander.
Zweihänder. It does two-handed. It's not exactly a great sword, although great swords might fall into that because specifically the German here matters because the style of fencing that we are recreating is German. And there's several German systems. The one that I'm primarily learning is called the Meyer system. That is like late German swordsmanship. And so I have I'll try. My friend has this great video clip from one of my matches where I technically lost the exchange because he hit me first in the arm, but I smacked the guy on the head real good. So I'll try and get some of the footage of it up.
In real life, that means you would have won because you would have lost the arm, but he would have died. So
correct.
You're the winner at that point. Yeah.
Exactly. But we're fencing for points here. It's a competitive sport, so technicalities matter. That was a really, really fun exchange. There was also I'll try to post some of the things. You can watch me lose terribly, but I've only been doing it for like 8 months, and most people have been doing it for a couple of years before they compete. So I was very proud of myself. But I also bought a sharp sword. That means like a real one that can do damage, and it is a 1.5-hand sword. So I do my training sword, which is called a fetter, meaning feather, is a Zweihander. It's the 2-handed. It's about 4 feet long. For people who are across the pond, that is what is it? A yard is a meter, right? Yeah, a meter and a third. 1.3 meters roughly.
Wow.
Yeah, we completely derailed, and I got talking about swords. I love this sport. It's one my best friend, and it's how she met her husband over 10 years ago. They finally dragged me into it, and now I will not shut up about swords. So I'm just like the worst.
You'd have a stream about swords. I think you would. That would be
the GitOps Guide to HEMA. I might do something.
Yeah, for sure.
I'll think on that.
Yeah. So So I want to kind of round this off, talking about kind of some of the. So like Natale, you're from the developers BU at Red Hat. You guys not only do like some of these books and some of these trainings, but you guys actually do this thing, labs, right? Live labs, something with Dev Nation. Can you talk a little bit about the Argo City one, the GitOps Dev Nation? I think you guys call it Howl, I believe is what it's called.
Yes, we have a really, really great event coming on, and you put the link. Thanks, Gerald, which is also in the chat. Will deliver an OpenShift GitOps workshop next week. This workshop is part of the Dev Nation events. Dev Nation is a branding from Red Hat developer doing a developer oriented workshop and kind of activities. And from today we had, for instance, Oriet interviewing some customers using OpenShift GitOps, and hey, there was a customer showing their migration to OpenShift 3 to OpenShift 4.
Nice.
So coming back to the point, and
full circle, right? Yeah.
Yeah, you see these people doing great stuff with Tecton, with Argo City, they're literally doing a really, really cool stuff. They're using external secrets. So you see the validated pattern implemented in the real production life. So that's fantastic. And this was today, but next week, Gerald will do the Argo City workshop. It is full out, but in case any free spot arrives, we will open again the registration. You can attend this workshop. In any case, we will do it again for next time. So what you have to do is just register at Dev Nation and Red Hat Developer, and stay tuned for all our events coming, either virtually and in person. I put the link in the chat here in the private chat, Chris, and you can send that. If you wanna listen to anything about Dev Nation events like the Argo City one, this is the place to register. And yeah, that's it. And looking forward to see Gerard in action for a Dev Nation GitOps workshop.
Yeah, and it's kind of, and this is free, by the way. So like sign up, get some free training, not only on OpenShift, but using OpenShift GitOps, which is Argo City. JWHB, you asked, is the Argo City workshop focused on usage with OpenShift? I believe the answer is yes. They're going to be using Argo City with OpenShift. A lot of that stuff gets easily translated if you're using some other Kubernetes distribution, right? And so that's kind of like what the workshop is.
Yeah, but Christian, is also kind of universal. It's OpenShift GitOps is the Argo City installed there, but the instructions are valid for any Argo City, and the source of those instructions is the tutorial that you also write in Karakode, and then we migrated into Instruct. So really, the exercise is valid for any OpenShift, for any Argo City. But the specific workshop, we're using OpenShift GitOps like a version of Argo City, and we're letting the attendees use the OpenShift experience. But again, the technology and the instruction are valid for any Argo City at that version, of course.
Yes. Cool. Yeah, and Gerald, he's still on chat. So he's I have like a internal running joke. I say Gerald Ops, right? Because as you know, what's I think Gerald and I are kind of kindred spirits, right? Because like as opinionated as I am, Gerald is also opinionated, right? And so I in a way I respect that. So even when our opinions differ from time to time. And yet another essay that when I was in essay we worked together. I still remember the time. I think I was riding in the back seat of his like Mazda, which was supposed to be a 2-seater. I don't know how I fit back there, but there we go. I think I was in Montreal when I went there. I'm not sure. My memory is shot, Gerald. So if I got any of that wrong, let me know.
Gerald's from Vancouver, right?
Yeah, he's in Vancouver, but I think we visited a customer in Montreal because I think Canada is a region, like it's just one big region. They don't have like East or West.
It is big.
Yeah, RX8. Yes. Oh, it was Toronto. Yeah, RX8. Yeah, and it was suicide doors. Yes, I remember that. And like I had to like with my backpack, I was like crunched up in the back, driving to lunch. It was really cool.
I can imagine that. I can see that. You're not that big a dude. I could see how you could squeeze.
I did squeeze, yeah. And like I had my anyway, so it was in Toronto. That's right. It was in Toronto. Now that I remember. I
was gonna say, Christian, you're not opinionated. I've never known you to have an opinion. That doesn't sound like you. What?
Never.
That's like me having an opinion.
Yeah, we're completely flexible, right?
Yeah, exactly. never opinionated, never prescriptive.
Yeah. So cool. All right, awesome. So so we dropped all the links there. If you missed any of the links, if you're watching the recording, if you're on YouTube, it should be in the chats there. So if not, you can bug us on Twitter. Let me see here. You can find the mermaid on Twitter, right? Dropping Hillary's Twitter handle there. You can find me on Twitter as well, right? There's my handle there, the GitOps Kingpin there, and then Natale. If you want to follow, you'll always see all three of us talking to each other. So it's
true. We basically just talk to each other. I think maybe you guys probably talk to each other or other people more. I literally only have a Twitter for this stream and for work. I don't do a whole lot with it. Occasionally I remember it's there and I try to do something social, but really I'm just not a public social media person. So that's what it is. Cool. Twitter, LinkedIn, follow. I want to thank you, Natale, for coming on, especially because it is again late. I want to thank our viewers who are so late. I know Tal is in Israel. We had Pakistan represented today. We had the whole globe here today. It was really cool.
The coolest show. I told you.
And once again, our chat was very active. So thank you folks for keeping the chat active. It makes us smile. You could see us in the replays where we're laughing at things that came up in the chat. Yeah. We're trying to be polite, but we're laughing at your commentary. So most appreciated. I don't have anything else. You know, this was a perfect stream to use my usual sign off for, because we talked about this. Once again, folks, choose your technical debt wisely. I will say goodbye. I'll let Christian do his thing. I think he's ending the stream. I'm hands off keyboard, and we'll catch you in 2 weeks.
Yeah, we'll catch you in 2 weeks to see if I do it right. All right, thanks, Natale. Bye,
Christian, before we close, I want to say, if you want to try the cookbook example, you can go into our interactive labs on the portal. I put the link in the chat, Christian. So those are the labs available already pre-built, made by Christian, about how to use Arco CD and OpenShift GitOps. But there's a lab called the OpenShift Playground. It's an empty OpenShift where you can install OpenShift GitOps and run all the exercises from the book if you like to.
Cool. Look at that. We're even giving you an OpenShift cluster for you.
Yeah, we'll give you also clusters.
Yes, sweet, awesome. All right. So again, thank you, Natale.
Thank
Bye,
you all.
everyone.
It's a pleasure.
Cheers.
Bye. Cheers. Ciao.